Everyone. I did a talk recently about forcing appreciation, and I mentioned how my groups and I, we always buy for cash flow. This led to a barrage of questions around buying for appreciation, so I thought I'd answer it here. As a recap, there are two basic ways a multifamily deal makes you money. The first is through cash flow, and the second is through appreciation. So before I go on, I'll color in some details and briefly touch on these two ways of making money. So in the first part, in a cash flow deal, there's typically good net cash flow when you walk into a deal. This type of deal is basically you're looking for income from rents and other income minus expenses, and you have cash at the end of the month. Expense items might be everything from insurance to the mortgage. You have taxes, utilities. You take all these, and you subtract it, right? And you're always looking for that net number to be positive on a month by month basis. Sometimes you can have a negative month if things are going a little bit haywire there, but this could be indicative of other problems, such as maybe an overrun on expenses or you're not collecting enough income. I covered various ways of addressing both scenarios in my other recordings, so be sure to check those out. Regardless, in a negative or zero situation, you always want to get that handled because if there's no cash flow, it makes for very unhappy investors and unhappy landlords and owners. So get that under control. Now, in an appreciation deal, it's very different. You're relying on drivers outside of your control to bring up the value of that property over a long period of time. The thing to note is that it may be subjective and even speculative. These deals are banking on the local area to drive the overall value of the property. Maybe there's some revitalization taking place, there's some new arts and entertainment district, or there's some economic driver that is increasing the demand for that area. So the appreciation strategy is driven by a region or market that you're buying in, meaning that not every market will appreciate. All right, it's very key to understand. The most extreme places that everyone is going to be aware of is places like New York City and Los Angeles, where people are buying very, very low cap rates and anticipating that in 5 years from now, that $1 million triplex that they purchased will be worth $1.4 million. But in those cases, there is very patient money, and those investors are looking to park their money in the hopes of making a score down the road. Now, with all that out of the way, the reason to buy for either cash flow or appreciation depends on your motivation. As I mentioned, if you're looking to buy for a long-term gain, appreciation could be your best path. If you're looking for cash in a short term, like month over month consistency, then you're targeting cash flow. If you're syndicating deals and the objective is to make money in the short term, then you need to be investing for cash flow. The property needs to be cash flow positive and in a position where you can bring up income and reduce expenses to maximize your net. Okay, because obviously your investors are going to be expecting that. But if you're looking to invest for appreciation, then the strategy is much, much different. Okay, in this case, you're looking for an asset where there is a great deal of change in improvement for that market. All right, so if you're using investor money in that case, they would need to understand the strategy and get on board with it. There's maybe some cash flow sometimes, and maybe you could even provide a small return, not always. But the score will be on the back end when you go to sell that deal off. That's ultimately what they're looking for. And this is where things can get a little risky. Because appreciation is based on speculation, that big score when you sell off is not always guaranteed. If you're putting your investors' money into a deal, you better make sure you know that market and what goes on in that market too. That's why places like New York and Los Angeles and Chicago and more recently Miami have turned into appreciation markets. Buyers in those areas, they know it's going to appreciate over time, and they'll even go without cash flow or even negative cash flow for a bigger score at the back end. So if you plan on applying the appreciation play in markets that haven't really moved much historically, you really need to be careful. Your job as a syndicator is not to lose money. That's ultimately your role. So be aware of that. These days the focus of my partners and I is really around cash flow. We may expect some appreciation, but we don't bank on it. We bank on running the property well, making improvements, driving income, and then doing a refi to pull the money out and return it back to the investors and pour whatever we get into the next deal. There's nothing wrong with buying for appreciation. It's just not what we do right now. That's all. Anyway, what strategy do you prefer? Let me know in the comments. I would absolutely love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this, please go ahead and, as I said, leave a comment and check us out on iTunes and Stitcher. And also check out the YouTube channel as well. We're trying to put out great material for you guys every day and really help you build success in the world of multifamily. Anyway, be great, guys. Talk to you soon.